compromise a good word? Oh, I think we all say, yeah, it's nice to compromise. It kind of makes peace, and it brings people together. However, in compromising, sometimes we may be compromising ourselves and our immortal souls. Sometimes when people are looking at a situation, let's make believe a political situation, make believe, a moral situation, because politics and morality, they intersect all the time. People sometimes, instead of looking at the long term, they're looking at the short term. Now, in today's gospel, this steward who was being dismissed from his job, he was very wise, he was very prudent. He was one of the children of this world. He took a short-term loss because he saw the long-term goal, which was what? Take the loss now, lose your commission now, and if you make friends now, once you are fired, a lot of people will like you, and you'll be able to get another job. And that was the long-term goal. So, oftentimes, regarding morality, politics, we look at the short term, and politicians are wedded to the short term. Now, over the past week, some of you may have heard about Lindsey Graham making a proposal that we have a law enacted by Congress that would limit abortion throughout the land to 15 weeks. Arguments are, well, a lot of the rest of the world limits abortion to 15 weeks, and albeit America has one of the most liberal abortion laws in the world. I think we are in contention with communist China and North Korea. But most of the civilized world, it's about 12 to 15 weeks, and that's almost like 4, 8, 12, that's like almost 4 months. That's a pretty big baby along the way, isn't it? Okay. Can we do that? Morally, can we make that kind of a compromise? Because Lindsey says, if we make this compromise, it will enable America to unite. And it will be bipartisan. Unite in what? A moral evil? Can we compromise with evil? No, we cannot compromise with evil. So it might look like a short-term win. Oh, this is a win for us. We're proposing this, and this will enable us to unite the country and diffuse the contention over the abortion question. Unfortunately, you can never, ever compromise with evil. A small evil leads to a greater evil. 15 weeks is evil. 15 weeks will go to 9 months. And 9 months will go to, and in some places it has, until after birth. So you compromise a principle, you're on that slippery slope. Let's say he means well. I'm sure he does. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Okay? So we cannot make this kind of a compromise. We can never compromise with evil. What is the long-term goal? The long-term goal is that there is no abortion in this country. And that those of us who know of the moral evil that it is will never compromise ourselves. And science and morality for, in quotes, bipartisanship. Something else has come up over the last weeks. I mentioned this in the past, but it's come up once again. It's called the Respect for Marriage Act. The Respect for Marriage Act. Now, the Respect for Marriage Act wants to embed in the law of this country that marriage between same-sex couples is a good and must be adhered to by all of the states. Now, in effect, because of the Interstate Commerce Clause, in effect, same-sex marriages are being recognized. However, it comes from Supreme Court opinion, Oberfeld. Now, what about same-sex marriage? Once again, it is a moral evil. It's as simple as that. It's a moral evil. It's nothing that we can ever compromise with. And of course, this Right to Marriage Act says, well, it's respecting people's freedom. We have a freedom to do whatever we want. No. We only have a freedom to do what is right. But more than that, there's something more to it than that. Embedded in this Right to Marriage Act, it sounds so nice, doesn't it? Everybody, oh, I want my rights. Everybody should have a right, a right, a right. It's packaged so well. But it also endangers religious freedom. Why? Once it becomes a law of the land, we're obliged to obey that law. What happens to people who have religious objections? What happens to para-church organizations? For instance, suppose you have a Knights of Columbus Hall that the same-sex couple wants to rent for their wedding. Would we be breaking the law? Well, as I read it now, yes. What about vendors who service weddings? The florist, the baker. We've heard of those cases. Would they be breaking the law if they said, no, it's against my religious conscience? You understand the danger in this Respect for Marriage Act. Now, it was passed by Congress. Passed by Congress with 48 votes coming from the Republican side. Some of them I'm absolutely shocked at. And when I confronted one of the congressmen, he said to me, well, it has a long way to go. I know your concerns, and it has to go through the Senate. It was supposed to come through the Senate this week. Guess what? It was pulled. It was pulled. You know why? Elections are coming up. And people on both sides don't want to lose the votes. So they're going to delay it. I guarantee you it will be one of the first things on the docket after the election. And then, of course, we have some wonderful senators, because it's in the Senate now, some wonderful senators who say, we are going to tweak this to guard religious freedom. So at the moment, Senator Romney and Senator Collins are working on tweaking this Respect for Marriage Act. Can we compromise with that? No. It's fundamentally flawed. It's immoral. And souls are at stake, and so too is the freedoms that are guaranteed to us in the Constitution, religious freedom. One further issue. I was listening to Drew Steele on the radio this past week, and of course this Respect for Marriage Act came up. And one of the local politicians, a fine guy, I like the guy personally, I like him a lot, they were discussing it, and the politician said, well, he says, Why do we even have to have states issuing licenses for marriage? A lot of people, yeah, why do you need the state to issue a license for marriage? Well, just the state should keep their nose out of our business. Well, why do we have a license? You know why? Because the license is there to protect the institution of marriage and to protect the family. If you don't have a license for marriage, what do we have? We have whole-scale cohabitation. People shacking up. That's what you have. You need a marriage license. It supports the family. When a man and a woman marry, they begin a new family. And then it supports the children that are the product of that marriage, product of that family, and the parents, mother and father. Yes, father has to be there. They have responsibilities for raising those children, providing for them materially, educating them, and providing for their spiritual well-being. And so, can we compromise and say, what's the difference, whether you have a license or not? What we're compromising is the very institution of marriage, which has always been embedded in the natural law and has always been respected by the nations throughout the world since the time of the cavemen. Goes that far back. How do I know? I used to watch the Flintstones, and Fred and Wilma were married. But all joking aside, yeah, it's always been recognized as a special sacred institution with obligations toward the children and toward community. The attempts to break down marriage, the attempts to break down the family, these are all attempts to put us and our children at the mercy of the state, where the rights and protections come from the government and are not embedded in the natural rights of the family. Can we compromise on morality? No. We can never compromise on morality. Number two, not only can we not compromise on morality, but we have to be outspoken regarding what is right and wrong. And the bishops have asked us to write to our congressmen, or if you come from a different state, whoever your congressman is, your senator, right now it's Senate, write to the senators and tell them that you do not want this Respect for Marriage Act passed. It's important that you do so. Go online, United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, Respect for Marriage Act, and will tell you exactly how to go about making your belief regarding the sanctity of marriage known. One last thing, and I ask you to always be cautious about this. A lot of these rights, right to abortion, right to same-sex marriage, right to shack up, for lack of a better term, they are oftentimes unconstitutional. Why? You cannot make a law, a national law, something that applies to all of the states, because the states retain power. Only those powers given to the federal government and the Constitution go to the federal government. The rest remains with the states, and that's why right now we have a situation where abortion is being debated in the states. We can never give up those states' rights. We can never give the federal government control over the states' rights and over our rights. And so today, I ask you, write to the senators. Number two, realize we can never compromise morality, never. And number three, and most importantly, be faithful to the gospel. You might think that this little short-term solution is great. Oh, we're all getting along. But the long-term effects are devastating. God love you.